Da-na-na-na-na. We've got the wrong background up. I still got the worst movies of the year. We're not doing that list right now. We're doing the worst horror films of 2022. We're going to go by some genres. No, best horrors. Best horrors. I was called out for the way I say the word horror the other night because apparently I say horror. I say horror. And yeah, my wife has actually called me out on that when I was, we'll go to Halloween Horror Nights, walk through a few horror houses, and she's like, "What?" Horror house. And she says, "You do know the word is horror." That's what I'm saying. Yeah, horror.
Two syllables. 2 syllables, like the team. It's very important.
It is. I'm saying 2 syllables. To your wife,
that has 2 syllables.
I am saying 2 syllables. The word, whoops, wrong one. The word is horror. There are 2 syllables in there. I don't care what you guys say. Come on. But yeah, so I do get called out for that quite a bit by my wife. The way I say horror. I don't see the problem. I just don't. I don't hear the problem
because horror becomes horror if you say it too quickly.
All right, so in here we're going to be counting down and talking about the 10 best horror films. Hey Ed, what's up? He came up with his 5. I came up with my 5. He took all the famous ones, guys. He took
there
all the
famous
famous
a lot of
ones.
Noteworthy good horror movies this year.
There really were.
I don't play charity. If you're not good enough to be on a top 5 list, then you do not make it onto the top 5 list. That's how this works.
The way it's gonna go is I've got all. I am going to be representing all the obscure horror movies, and then Dalton will be starting off on most of the famous ones. We talked and we argued and we fist fought, and I even had Twiddles attack him to make sure we made number 1. The movie I wanted number 1. Twiddles is my muscle man here. And we came up with a list of 10. I think it's a pretty good list. Obviously, there's 2 things that are going to go on. If you don't see the movie that you love on this list, either A, we didn't agree with you, or B, we didn't see it. Simple as that. I think it's weird that grown adults have to make a note to other grown adults that I can only review the movies that I saw. You know, that kind of thing. But that is the way it goes.
Because people are invested in how well their particular movie is doing.
And I get it. Look, but here's another thing that some people just don't understand, and this is not an opinion. Objectively, what we are about to show you are the best horror films of other channels. They go, well, you know, it's only my opinion. I'm saying bullshit. This is the way it is. These are the best. You just got to deal with it. You got to freaking deal with it.
We have done the math. We have calculated that this is objectively true. And if you don't like it, then you can go the fuck yourself.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I love that wishy-washy thing. So here's the thing. I usually see about 130, 150 movies a year. I topped out one time at about 250. That's the most I'd ever seen in a year. I see a lot of films probably that a lot of you don't. And that's not a brag. It's just that's the way I am. I would rather usually I would rather watch a film that I haven't seen over a movie that I think might be bad over a film that I know is good, but I've already seen it. I would rather see the new film. It's just the way I've been for the last 30 years. So I'm okay picking out the obscure stuff. One other thing that I don't do that you'll see, or we won't, and I'm not going to allow Dalton to do it either. Sorry, man. I'm going to put some rules up, but I will not coddle independent cinema. You know, your budget is 25 cents. So make the best freaking movie you can for that 25 cents. I never understood why. No,
and don't deliberately unmake a good movie just because you can.
There you go. Yes. So with all that aside, I say let's get started. And we're going to start with our number 10, which is one that basically I saw that I know you haven't. And it is a film that I want to say it was on, it's on Netflix, this one. It is called C for Me. It might be Hulu. No, it's Hulu. It's called C for Me, or C for Me. So this is about this girl. She's blind and she does house sitting, but she uses her handicap to rob people. Blind. All righty. Right. And there's this app that she uses. It's called See For Me. And so she hooks a person up to her phone, and she will be filming the house, and they'll tell her on your left to 1 foot is a counter, so forth and so on. So the title is named after the app. Well, while she is house sitting and she's robbing people, the people that she's house sitting for with her friends now, they get there's a home invasion. And so now it's her and the people that she knows, people that she loves, that are in there trying to help her, trying to keep themselves alive from these guys who came in hot and armed. Now, and it's done very well. For a little bit, it's kind of weird because she's blind, yet it still gives us this field of vision that is only a cell phone light. And I thought it was so effective. It was so effective in what it was trying to do. And totally enjoyed it. Totally enjoyed it. Once again, I do believe this is streaming on Hulu. And this is our number 10 pick. So if you want to go to our number 9, Dalton, do you want me to introduce it since I know what it is?
Yeah, switch the icon over. Barbarian.
Yes, we have the Barbarian. It is all on you, sir. You get to open this one.
This one is just, when you take a premise and you just do the best job you can with it, is basically this one. Like, there are other horror movies that stand out more over the course of this top 10, but Barbarian is here because I don't think anyone really expected much from it, and yet everyone who saw it went, yeah, that was probably the best version of that you could get from there. Neat.
Well, I kind of like the fact that it did switch up in the middle, and you go from what you saw in the like all of what you saw in the previews is damn near in the first half.
Yeah, it's maybe the first 20 minutes.
They wanted to hide the second half. I like the fact that they did it, and I like. There's some problems I have with this movie. Overall, I enjoyed it. Me and Gail went and saw this, and it did the number. It got me laid. She held on real tight. So yeah, I dig this film. But I do like the kind of twist in the middle, and I thought Justin Long was pretty cool in it. And I did think what's his name, Skarsgård, was pretty cool, because he played it as if you don't know if he's going to be the reason for the horror or not. Yeah. And they play that off. Is this girl safe with this guy? And it turns out that he ain't what she needs to worry about. So overall, Barbarian, pretty good movie.
I think it's safe to say that all of the Skarsgårds have proven they can act, because Stellan Skarsgård, the elder Skarsgård, he proved he could act a long time ago. But Billy and Alex Skarsgård have both been basically one-upping each other each movie they're in, just to go, I have the Skarsgård talent for acting, goddammit.
But it does have its problems. I'm sorry, but at one point someone falls off a water tower. It's like maybe 20 feet up. They fall onto their head and get up. And Michael Myers ain't doing that.
Goofy laugh of like,
They got a doomsayer in this. You know how a lot of slasher films from the 80s have doomslayers. This guy's like, oh my gosh, that house is the reason of death for 20 years. Bitch, why you still living there, you homeless mother?
You mean the Harbinger? Is what you're looking for there.
The doomsayer, the Harbinger. Sounds very 2022. This is one of the best. That's what we're saying. One of the top 10 horror films. It works, sir. It works. But it does have its problems. And as we go forward, we're going to have
less and less of those.
What I think is funny is there's a guy out there right now in Actingville. And for some reason, every girl wants to bang him and does. And I don't get it, because every time I look at this guy, every time he's in a movie, I want him to freaking die. And thankfully, I saw him die in Suicide Squad. And thankfully, I saw him die in this one. It's called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. What is this guy's name? I don't get it. He's ugly as yet girls go nuts for him. I can only imagine that he is hung like a freaking ship's anchor.
Harry Styles, is that the one?
No,
the
it's not him. This is the guy on. This is the guy in Saturday Night Live. He was on the on Suicide Squad, the guy who betrayed him. Okay, so Bodies, 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 our number 8 movie of the number 8 horror film of the year. This, everybody here plays an annoying character. I mean, just horrible character that truly, if you are my age for sure, Pete Davidson, thank you. If you are my age for sure, you're like, okay, so somebody's gonna come along and kill them. All right, I'm good. Yeah. Okay, so it's gonna be that kind of movie, yeah. But I didn't know I was going to be more like, oh wow, okay, this is good. Because I really did want to walk out of the theater for a little bit, because these are the worst of millennials. Like, you see how everybody's got a phone or a camera up. That is how they acted all throughout. They get together and they're having a hurricane party, which actually does exist. Sometimes people will, especially if someone has a bigger house, someone has a smaller house, you'll host a hurricane party, get non-perishable goods. You'll get some games and such, maybe have a generator or two, and everybody will ride the storm out, and maybe even the aftermath. So these kids get together to have a hurricane party, and at a certain point, the older guy in the corner, he's brought in by one of the girls, a new boyfriend, and just by his presence, he becomes the alpha, which of course sets off Pete Davidson's character. And he's just being a douchebag. He steps outside to make a phone call. I've done that too. Yes, if you've got the right kind of awning and everything, you can step out and enjoy a hurricane for a little bit. Then he's out there and you hear a scream and he's killed. And after that, it becomes almost like 10 little Indians, as each of them are dropping off, to the point where there's only 3 left and they turn on each other. It was more fun than I really thought it deserved to be. And what I experienced in the beginning of this film completely turned around by the end. I know I said we're going to keep these brief, but I think I just threw that out the window. But yeah, there you go. Our number 8 pick, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I guess I get to move on to the next one, and then you pick up on issue number. I say issue because I'm so used to the
because comics. Yes, I know.
Those comics, yeah, that's the way. Hello to Aloise, and I heard he sold his soul for fame. He may just have, man. Seriously, it's something. Okay, so everybody in the world is trying to tell me that Get Out was one of the greatest horror films of all time, that Jordan Peele was an amazing director. I thought Get Out was okay. I thought Jordan Peele was okay. Us was bad, but it had great acting. But finally we have Nope. I liked this movie better than anything he's ever done. I thought it built up tension. There's some scenes in here. Good on you. I am telling you. This takes place in, I think it's Arizona. But anyway, it's in the desert. And strange things start happening. Things go disappearing. And they notice at one point in time, something falls out of the sky, kills Dan Kaluuya, whatever his name, Daniel Kaluuya, kills him and KK Palmer's dad, and they start looking up and they start trying to figure out what was going on, and they notice there's this cloud that never moves, and it's an alien. So it really is this desert town trying to deal with this this alien. And really what it's about is the good, and like, does life really exist if it's not caught on camera? Because the shape of the ship, they realized, was all of it. It's got this big eye that's looking down, and that it sees. And if you're moving and if you're out and about, that's when it comes to suck you up. So your life doesn't count unless it's on camera. And there you get a scene that also talks about the tragedy and how people can turn tragedy into entertainment. And there's just so much to this film that I was like, okay, yeah, all right, this guy's got layers. So I did enjoy this. Did you see this one?
I did. I thought it was just okay. I don't know if it's just me being done with Jordan Peele shenanigans. I think it might be. But I feel like every time he makes a movie, it's an attempt to recapture the lightning in a bottle that Get Out did. And I'm done being charitable to his ego stroking.
So you don't think this is as good as Get Out, and I think it's better.
Yeah, I think it's probably better than Us. I'll give it that.
Oh, it's way better
second.
than Us. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it's the second best of the three, but
okay,
that's about as much as I'll give it. I'm sick of premises being used as commentary. I think is what I'm getting. I'm getting black-pilled on the idea of everything has to be themed, everything has to be goddamn commentary. Can we not just have an interesting world or an interesting premise explored in an interesting world with some characters I care about, and then we can engage with it sincerely rather than 47 layers of meta?
Well, Joe is saying it's a pretty clever idea, although not an entirely original one, and I do agree. And Jay is saying I agree. He agrees with you. And Ed is saying his Twilight Zone was mid at best. I only saw the first episode, so I can't really talk about that one.
Let's not talk about his Twilight Zone, because again, we're getting back into the area of.
I'll tell you what.
I'm sick of commentary.
Why don't you talk about the next film, which I also thought it was going to be okay, but ended up being better than what it really should have been, and that is Smile.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though... Sorry.
That's true horror, ladies and gentlemen. True horror. All right. What did you think of this one?
This movie, if anyone remembers, came out around Halloween, and everybody thought that the third new Halloween movie would be the big success story of the era. And yeah, no, instead it was Smile. And instead it was just this movie that came out of nowhere, kind of, and yet just kept punching people in the face with, here is awesome horror shit going on. That's kind of going to be a running theme with a lot of the really awesome horror movies of this year. Is just they keep going and going and going and going, and they're kind of relentless about it, and that it works, man. It works.
And so the premise, of course, of this one is this doctor has a patient, and she's talking about this entity that's following her around, and you'll see it in the smiles and so forth. She's not taking it serious. She turns around. This girl has a big old smile, and because she looks her straight in the eyes, this has been passed on to her. So there's a little bit of what is it? It happened or something like that. What was that movie? It crawled. I don't remember it, but it was like
It Follows.
It Follows. Thank you. It was supposed to be a social disease, and that's kind of what happens in this movie a little bit. But there is a lot of creepy imagery, and there's just some times where it's just you don't know which way is up. And yeah, I like this film. I saw it with Gail at the theaters. Absolutely fun times. Had saying I heard of this one. I might see it. I think this one is now streaming. I want to say on HBO Max. Sorry, I should have checked this out before.
I want to say you're correct, because I don't know this is available else.
This is available for streaming on one of these services right now. So there you go. Also, you get to lead us in the next one, in our number 5. movie, and I gotta agree with another one I saw with Gail, and we were very happy that it turned out well.
The Black Phone, which is basically what Scott Derrickson cashed all of his I was the director of Doctor Strange chips in to make. And it leaves you going, why couldn't you have put this kind of effort into Doctor Strange again?
Some of us actually like Doctor Strange, but let's talk about Black Phone.
but yeah, basically, premise is that this kid is captured by these people who capture people, as you can imagine, and the way that they kind of interact with what they assume is the outside world is through this black phone, and mind-bending shenanigans ensue therefrom. As you can imagine, Scott Derrickson is very good at horror. Like if you liked any of his horror movies, you'll like this. Whether it's Exorcism of Emily Rose, or whether it's Sinister or Insidious, or whichever ones he's made. I think this is one of his best attempts at the horror genre, and you can definitely tell this is a movie that he had to cash some clout in to make, and it paid off.
Well, one of the things, of course, I noticed was the 1970s setting. It was very much like the neighborhoods I grew up around in. And the one thing that flat out got me was the dad. The dad's a good guy. The dad comes off as a bad guy because of modern day values. But there's a point where he wants to make sure that his daughter understands what he's saying, and because she doesn't listen, so you get him wailing the out of her. We got spanked. When I saw that, I was like, I told Gail, I said, I can't believe how uncomfortable I am with that scene when we went through it.
You remember being that kid,
basically. And look, when my mom and dad disciplined, when my mom and dad spanked me, I would more than likely say I deserved it. They never actually did for anything I didn't. But it's not only that, but the way it looked, the way kids acted, they made sure that they didn't act like 2022 kids in the 1970s. You know, there is a difference. Part of the problem I had with some of the Stranger Things scenes is that the kids are 2000 kids playing like they're in the 80s. They're not actually in there. I love the aesthetic of it. The use of the camera, there are a whole bunch of tight shots just to kind of not give you enough. So you don't know when Ethan Hawke is around the corner or waiting to see this kid where he's going to come out. Because there is a point in time.
Ethan Hawke gives an amazing performance.
Oh, he's incredible in this.
As the obligatory creep dude.
He is incredible in this. But there's a point where he leaves the door open just to see if the kid will escape. And he's just waiting there, sitting in a chair with this thing to hit him with. It's so done well.
And you see a little bit of it in the trailer of like and I was getting to like you kind of.
Yeah, the tension works. The tension works in this one. Okay, next up for our number 4 is one of my choices that I had to wrestle on to hear. And as I was telling Dalton, this is a movie that I did not expect to be as good as it was. The premise just seemed weird to me. A whole bunch of kids from the 1970s go to a farmhouse in order to shoot a porn film. It's called X, and it really is that. They go to this farmhouse. They rent the barn. There's a little a barn house, got a bedroom, the whole 9 yards, and they decided they're going to film a porn film there. And while they're there, the couple who owns the house decide, you know what, these people don't need to be living no more. And they just start picking them off one by one. The young lady there on that's not Brittany Snow, she plays both the role that you're seeing here, the final girl, and she plays the murderous old lady. And she does great. This Mia Goth is one of the finds of this year to me. I never heard of her before. I don't know if I've ever seen her in a movie before, but when I saw this, I was like, holy crap, she's pretty good. This movie is also, there's more story to it than you normally get in a horror film, in a slasher film. So it just kind of elevated. Ed, I am not kidding you here. I am not kidding you here. We finally get to see Brittany Murphy's boobs. All right, so but yeah, it's actually a pretty good film. It's got some great horror. Jenna Ortega is hot in it. She is one of the, she is the sound engineer or the girlfriend of, and at a certain point she decides, no, I want to be a part of the porn movie. So yeah, she's in it for that. There you go. And once again, great film, good alligator kill. The reason why this old man and old lady are killing people, I'm going to leave that up for you to find out, because gross. Okay. That being said, yeah, one of my favorite films, much less favorite horror films of 2022. Now we decided we were going to have a foot race to decide who gets to talk about this next one, and Dalton won. I really gotta take care of myself, guys.
I don't know, but
so
yeah.
our number 2, oh no, our number 3, excuse me, horror film of the year. I'll let you take lead, but I am definitely talking about this one. All righty, it's all you.
Terrifier 2. It's an independently financed horror movie. And remember how I said earlier that it would become a running theme of a movie that just punches you in the face repeatedly and does not stop until it's over? Yeah, this movie. This movie. If you've heard the hype around it, you know exactly how bonkers this movie goes and exactly how much it takes advantage of its fan film essentially aesthetic. And yeah, it makes you look at this movie and go, if this is what people who actually give a shit can do, then why does all of Hollywood just not give a shit? This should be the right way around. These are the kind of movies that should have the ridiculous budgets, and then the movies that Hollywood puts out should have the tiny, the shoestring budget. But no, because we live in bizarro world, movies like this are on a shoestring budget, while the latest disposable thing is stupidly over budgeted.
Do you know that this, by the way, is the most profitable film of the year?
Yeah, because it cost
it had
$250K and made like 10 or 11 million.
It was oh, by the way, Ed, Rob hates everything. Okay, but I was amazed by this film. I started this movie at 3:00 in the morning. I figured I'd watch a little bit of it, get a taste of it, and then just turn it off. I stayed up and watched the whole thing. This is over 2 hours long. No, I was like, wait a second, how long is this movie? I stopped it to check how long it was, and it's over 2 hours long. It's like, no slasher film needs to be over 2 hours long unless you're
actually supposed to care about the characters.
Exactly. They took time not only to give us some information on the motivations and the cares of the characters that are going to be facing the murderer, but they actually took time to give us a decent backstory to the murderer. So this ended up being far better than what I thought it would be. I was actually kind of shocked. I thought this was going to be a level of schlock, because I thought that same way about the first one. I saw the first one. I thought, okay, they do go for gore's sake. And they do that here too. But getting past that, there's actually a story here.
Yeah. There's quite a lot here to enjoy if you're wanting to enjoy things.
Yeah. Unlike
Rob, who is the Simon Cowell of movies.
I was amazed that I was actually amazed that they never did that with Halloween. You can actually write a decent story to Halloween. I think they tried with this last trilogy. I know I'm one of the few people who liked Halloween Ends, but this movie here, yeah, this was top notch. I was kind of surprised at how much I liked this one. But
what we're saying is, Hollywood, more of this, please.
Well, you know what? Hollywood did kind of give us more of this in a movie. I got to tell you, I had zero expectations for. Zero expectations. Because in all honesty, the original I liked, but I didn't think was as great as everybody else was saying. But this sequel kind of blew me away, even though it gave us one of the worst images, and that's this Hellraiser.
Yeah, it's not only an excellent sequel to Hellraiser, which in and of itself as a reboot is kind of ridiculous, because we all know the groans and moans that result whenever anyone says the word reboot. But honestly, it's the best Hellraiser movie since the first two.
Nope. No, sir. Not to me. It's not the best Hellraiser movie since. It's the best Hellraiser movie.
Yeah,
I will go that far. But like I said, I liked, but I didn't hold the original Hellraiser in any kind of reverence.
Yeah, that's the thing. It depends on how much nostalgia you have for the first two, because if you're just looking for, like, if you're just comparing story for story, I genuinely think this one improves. Because here's the thing. Here's a question I have for all the Hellraiser fans. Apart from the people who don't know what the box is, in the original Hellraiser canon, who the hell has any incentive to actually engage with the thing? Apart from the people who don't know what it is. This movie answers that question by giving an actual substantive answer to that question, which is the box and its various configurations. And that's the other thing. We see the various configurations of the box, not just the lament one. Depending on the configuration, the box can grant you a kind of wish. Now, of course, that wish gets, refracted in some non-Euclidean ways, because it's the Cenobites and it's the Hell Priest and so on and so forth granting you that wish. So don't be expecting to get some classic genie wish type things here. But yeah, you can get 7 different kinds of wish, or I guess 7 different categories of wish fulfillment. And that's why people engage with the box now. And it works.
It's a movie that expands. It's not just a reboot 30 years later or whatever, or that, what is it, that now it's the 19th sequel or something. It's not just that. This movie expands on the lore. This movie, the movie makers obviously respected it, and they pushed it forward and made, in my opinion, a better film than the original. Now,
yeah,
here's the
also
thing. Is she as good as Doug Bradley? No. I'm going to put it, but I think it's one of the reasons, because Doug Bradley has one of these classic voices. When there is there's a line, what is it, when one of the famous ones, it's not what will tear your soul apart. It's the other one.
We have such sights to show you.
We have such sights to show you. Doug Bradley nailed that. This one, she tries. She gives her all, but I don't think it had the same weight.
And here's the thing. If you choose, you can actually choose to see this as not a reboot. Because I have a theory, which is that
I like this theory.
Which is that there are different sets of Cenobite teams, basically. And that this is a particular set. And the previous movies followed a particular set of Cenobites. So it's not like that this new Hell Priest is a replacement for the old Hell Priest or the old Pinhead. It's that all Hell Priests, all like High Priests of Hell or High Priests of Leviathan, are pin-headed type Cenobites. And that this female androgynous Hell Priest might be a co-worker of
Yeah, so
Doug
like
Bradley. And
Doug
Penny.
Bradley is still out there taking care of the people that he's bringing to hell while she's out there doing her thing. I like that. Now, we did have a bit of an argument that went, look, I've seen this movie. I want this movie at #1 because I've seen both Hellraiser and our #1 movie, and I'm telling you it's better. And Dalton put up a great fight by going, okay, if you feel that passionate about it, okay. So our #1 is it's a prequel, and it is, in all honesty, it's a movie. It's a movie. It's got horror elements in it, and it sets up another horror film that's actually on this list. But it was an incredible character piece. It was watching someone lose their mind, much like the Joker, but with a little bit more axes to the heads. And that is Pearl. This one, it's the extraordinary origin story. This is the story of the old woman who kills who kills the movie makers in X. I watched this. I'm like, okay, it kind of looks like Lizzie Borden. I don't know if you guys saw that very small film starring Kirsten Stewart a couple of years ago, but it kind of reminded me of that. But what it is this is a young girl. She's in a very, very small town and has always just wanted to get noticed, wants to be a star and go out to Hollywood, and I'm going to live my dream, but she's never actually doing anything to move herself forward. But she loves the movies, and she goes to the movies one day. She meets this guy, and everything she's doing, it just kind of pushes her a little bit further over the edge. She lives with her mother and her father, who are a bit Quakerish and kind of pushes her a little bit too far as well. At one point in time, she's wheeling her father, who's a paraplegic, towards an alligator off the dock. We, of course, know of the alligator because he's in X. Of course, there's a bit of a size difference. And she's just thinking of how she can escape. And it's a really good scene because I don't exactly know if this film, it does something Hitchcockian. And I mean this literally. In the movie Psycho, we follow Marion Crane for half the film. And she is the heroine. She is the person we are to root for. And then, of course, halfway through, as we all know, she gets killed by Norman Bates. And, of course, at this point, we think it's his mother. But Norman Bates comes in, and he's cleaning up the room, and he's taking the body, and he puts it in. So, obviously, he's in on it, even if he didn't kill her. And so he's the villain. And he puts her in the trunk. He drives the car out to a lake. And he's trying to dispose of the car. He puts it in the lake, and the car is going into the water, and then it stops. Norman looks around, and we start rooting for Norman. We start rooting for that body to go into that lake so Norman can get away with a murder. And Pearl does this as well. Pearl makes you root for the murderer. And it is a freaking heck of a psychological study. And more to the point of anything, at the end, when she realizes she's at the cliff, she's at the precipice, she's one step and she falls off the cliff of madness and insanity. Okay. And she gives her friend, she's talking to her friend, she gives one of the greatest monologues of the year, and that is no hyperbole. This is an incredible horror film. It's more psychological. It's got slasher elements to it, but it's more of a psychological horror film. And by God, it deserves its spot as the best horror film of the year. There you go. I really did give a bit of a speech there. Sorry, guys.
And this is why when he was describing this to me, I'm like, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I made my case, man. Seriously, I made my case as to why this was the best horror film. Hey, Joe, you take care, man, and have a good day. Got to go back to work. The new one was decent, but the original two were great since they followed the book. Okay, that's the Hellraiser movies. But did any of you guys see Pearl? Did you see X? Did you see any of these? I'd love to get your comment on these. If
And
you're
if you
watching
did
this,
see all the ones we ranked here, how would you rank them? Tell us in the
yeah,
comments.
what are your top 5? Well, basically what we did was we both came up with 5, and then kind of where would you put this? Let's talk.
Interwove them
yeah.
based on which we thought were better than others, and so on and so forth. And Terrifier 2 kept going up and up and up the list.
Yeah, no, that's better than that. Nope, it's better than that. It's better than that. I was shocked, really shocked at how good Terrifier 2 was. Ed saying you may see 1 or 2 of them. And by all means, please, if you do, call us out on it. If you like it, if you don't like it, I'd love to see it. Only seen the new.
How do you think our descriptions matched up to the movie once you do actually get a chance to see it? All things to go down in the comments there and comment on, because comments help the algorithm, don't forget.
Also, if you're watching this on I Love Comics, we have I want to change the name. If you guys have a name for a, oh wait, no, I've got a great name for it. I'll tell Dalton after, but I want to change the name. Dalton's a part of this, and I want to make sure that it's a little bit more neutral. But there you go. The Brittany Snow one for sure, and the Ethan Hawke one, says Ed Brewer. Those were good. Once you see the Brittany Snow, you're gonna want to watch it's called X. But once you watch that, you're gonna want to watch Pearl. So yeah, go check that out as well. If you're not subscribed to I Love Movies, that's what it's called right now. I'll leave the link in the description there, and please do. Please go on over to I Love Movies. It's our little movie channel now. We've only got about 114 subs. We just started. I put up a couple of reviews. I'm gonna have a review. I'm gonna try to get a review for Megan done tonight. And tomorrow I'll probably have A Man Called Otto. These are 2 movies that are going to be opening here soon. And yeah, there you go. Thank Dalton for joining me in this. Hope you enjoyed that. And everybody else in the chat there. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Once again, please go on over and sub. If you're on I Love Comics, go sub and click the notification bell on I Love Movies. See if we can't get that one going for a little bit. All righty. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Fun times. That was good.